So you ready for the results?
I guess, yeah.
All right. Of course, our question this morning is: do you think the government will relent and reopen the scrap iron industry due to the continued protests? We had 23 people saying no, and one person said yes. One person agreed.
Let me call Alan for 5 minutes.
Was that Richard?
I'm going to call Alan for 5 minutes. It's me.
All right.
All
right. So that's the result of our poll this morning. That poll will continue for the rest of the day until tomorrow. Yeah.
So you could deny?
The more important people to call is the National Security Services as to why they had no intelligence on the fact that this was going to take place on the highway. I don't know why that is not upsetting the two of you all.
The first part of the phrase says everything. No intelligence.
Exactly. Don't mind me. TTPS and intelligence. Okay.
I don't know why you and Paul are not upset.
So you want to direct our emotions now. That's what you're saying. Directing your own emotions ain't enough for you. You want to direct our emotions now.
Anyway, greedy people is on this weekend, people, and you need to laugh. You need to laugh. Greedy people is on this weekend, and the box office at Napa opens from 12 noon to 6 p.m. daily. They have tickets, and all our usual outlets have tickets.
Is that grammatically correct? Greedy people is? I mean, the definition of greedy people is.
Yeah.
Because greedy people should be are.
Yeah, but it's one play.
No.
Context.
Yeah, I got my tickets at the Pet Butler. So we got tickets there already.
I don't know. Say it again, Steve. And where's the Pet Butler located? Just in case people didn't know.
Harris Street in Curep, right off the Southern Main Road.
Oh yeah, I noticed how you're still discriminating against the Rambox, but that's alright.
I have no say in that.
Me, I'm not saying a word again.
I have no say in that.
Discrimination continues. Ragoobarsingh and his production team discriminating against.
And you know what? You know what's amazing?
Rambox.
Every day somebody coming in here asking about.
Like he must have no tickets. That's alright.
Every day somebody coming in here asking about all this. But that's alright.
What is discriminating against your box, so?
You know. Must be the word rum they have a problem with. I should have really
Ragoobarsingh will never have a problem with the word rum.
I should have really named the place Liquor Box.
Well, I always told you that. But no, I have no problem with the name rum.
You want me to change the name to Liquor Box?
But I told you that was the approved name before. But you was frightened.
We was frightened for Liquor Box.
Among the memes people would have put out on this business.
And that's advertising.
I guess so.
You afraid Liquor Box? You Wendell afraid Liquor Box?
My Christian countenance at the time didn't allow it.
So what about Liquor Box your Christian countenance would have a problem with?
Not me, not actually. Listen. Move on.
Oh God. Anyway, Greedy People is on this weekend, and if you didn't know you needed to laugh in Trinidad and Tobago these days, trust me, you do. And it's a wonderful play to give you that experience. Andrew Friday is doing some wonderful work as the character he does in that play. And you know, it's a nice cast, and it's a nice cast to work with. The camaraderie backstage is really wonderful. And so we're on this weekend.
I see you have some new faces on.
Yes, well, who you don't see regularly, like Corin Brown, Carmichael, who you don't see that often on stage, but she's been on stage before. Saul Ramlal, he's been on a couple of stuff before, but you don't regularly see him.
He was new to me.
Yeah. Andrew Friday, of course, whom we all know. But this is actually the first play that Andrew's ever done with us. He used to be harassing me that he wanted to do a play with us, but this is actually the first play that he's actually done with us.
Oh, so there's hope still for me and Steve and Paulin.
Yeah, of course. And I don't know if there's anybody else that.
Back to Richard's questions about the issue of intelligence gathering, which has been one of the police services Achilles' heel. Now they keep saying they get intelligence, but they are unable to turn the intelligence into evidence for prosecution. So I don't know which it really is. Is it that you're getting intelligence but not able to turn it into evidence, or is it you're neither getting intelligence nor evidence? Which is it really? Because the results are clear. The police service has serious challenges, and the part of the road that I'm looking at that they blocked is a major part of the highway. A highway. It's not a side road or a village road or a town road.
Yeah.
It's a highway. I'm
something.
presuming if there were, as we have been advised in the past, there are regular patrols along the highway.
Yeah. So you're trying to tell me none pass between?
So none of them within the period of the traversing the highway, the northbound carriage of the highway, where citizens were gathering to put debris in the road?
Well, clearly, the effort the police has been making on the east-west corridor on the highway, they have not been doing it on the north-south highway, because you see patrols on the east-west corridor all hours in the morning. I see them very early in the morning. They're strategically placed along the highway. This morning they were there, and they changed locations from time to time. So that what happened north-southbound couldn't possibly happen east-westbound, based on my evidence, what I've been seeing from the TTPS. Maybe they need to start putting up some static patrols out there also now. And they should have, because of what has been happening over the last week and a half. You would think that they would have done that. But clearly they haven't. So they might consider it after today, I'm sure. If we speak with Commissioner Jacobs, I'm sure he'll say they'll put static patrols out there. Or whatever the deputy commissioner's name who had a lot to say lately. I think it's a Wendell.
Let me tell you what the ultimate issue is. The ultimate issue is not enough criminals getting arrested, charged and convicted. That's the ultimate issue in this country. Not enough criminals getting arrested, charged, and convicted. But the conviction and nothing to do with the police. Well, I shouldn't say that. The conviction lies in the hands of the courts, and the police have to present credible evidence. So I can't say it has nothing to do with the police. But that is primarily with the courts. But if you're not even arresting and charging them, that's what they're running amok.
Yeah. Well, the scrap iron people getting a free ride for the last week and a half, doing what they want on the nation's roads. That much I could say.
Some scrap iron.
Not one of those protests were stopped. They were broken up after it happened, but they caused so much inconvenience before the response kicked in. Right? And somebody had to go with a backhoe and a truck to move all that sand I saw on the highway. There is a load in it, it's loads in them. So you can't even go around it.
And it speaks to an holistic approach to crime fighting. If it's one thing criminals must use is vehicles.
Yeah.
Criminals are riding on bicycle and donkey cart to the scene of crimes. So we have to use the road system and the vehicular system in the country to arrest crime, as is done. Why is we having to talk about this all the time as if we're the experts in security?
It's kind of annoying, isn't it?
That's it.
We're not the experts in security. We are bystanders, novices.
Yeah.
We're just a layman when it comes to it.
Gosh.
I did get on to Mr. Ferguson. Well, I can't talk now, I have nothing to say right now, So
I'm surprise.
So why is he suddenly going quiet now after all that talk he gave? Now is when we should hear from Mr. Ferguson and ask him, we need to poll him now and ask him if he thinks the government will relent and reopen the industry. Now that they are
or if he approves of the protest this morning.
That's
What are they talking about? What are they talking about?
I'm actually trying to get the acting commissioner of police here.
That's the more important person to talk to.
Why?
Understand what is their gap in terms of intelligence gathering that would allow a main artery between southern and northern Trinidad to be blocked by gravel, and the police have no clue.
Richard, are you suggesting for 1 minute, are you suggesting that Mr. Ferguson is outwitting Mr. Jacobs?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying I'm not even getting into the personalities of the two people. I would like to know, and you could also talk to Fitzgerald Hines, why is it that the national security apparatus could allow or have no information from an industry that has stated publicly that they're going to be engaging in protest? They have said it, and you have not monitored them, and so the northern-southern artery between the two major parts of the country are blocked this morning, and thousands of citizens are in this traffic because of a gap in intelligence gathering. That's how I look at it. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, you're right. You're right. You're right.
What are the security services there for?
Except that you're liberally using the word intelligence. But you're right. Because intelligence is telling the police now, because of these alleged fake cops robbing and murdering people, to remove masks, balaclavas and masks, and to go back to gray and blue. That's what intelligence is telling the police right now, Richard. Intelligence is telling them who it is, you know. Intelligence is telling them go and find these people, you know. Intelligence telling them to remove the balaclavas.
All right, gentlemen. Dorothy, good morning. And
Recording
good morning
in progress.
to you, Honorable Minister Fitzgerald Hines. How are you?
A very good morning to you, Mr. Khan, and your colleagues at the desk, and all of your listeners. A good morning to you.
Good morning. Of course, we have Paul, we have Wendell, we have
Good morning,
Richard.
Minister Hines.
And let me say happy independence to you as well.
Thank you very much. I extend same to you, and let me take the opportunity to say all of the people, and even our visitors and guests in Trinidad and Tobago last night, the Prime Minister, myself, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and Minister Kabir Robinson-Regis, welcomed to Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Prime Minister of Jamaica, Mr. Holness, and of course his Foreign Secretary, his Foreign Affairs Minister as well. We welcome them to Trinidad and Tobago, and I wish all of us a happy celebration of our 60th anniversary.
Did you tell him Wagwan?
I did, but not with a suave tone like you, but I did, and he also asked us what was happening, and we're having our conversations.
All right, wonderful. Let's get into the meat of the matter. Richard?
Minister, getting to the protest that's taking place on the southern artery, the Uriah Butler Highway, northbound this morning with regard to the scrap iron dealers. I'm trying to understand what is the gap in intelligence gathering by the security services from an industry that has articulated very publicly that they are going to engage in protest action, that such obvious and serious blockage of the main artery between North and South Trinidad can happen this morning without the TTPS or National Security Services being aware that something like this was going to happen?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, yours is a very legitimate question which any reasonable person will ask, and I myself am asking similar questions, given that we do have cameras, given that we do have police static patrols at certain locations around the place. It is quite a legitimate question for which we will be seeking those kinds of answers. But you're quite right. The scrap iron people did indicate very publicly and repeatedly that they will be taking action on an ongoing basis in relation to this, and that they plan to intensify it. They even threatened to take children to the homes of ministers, which we would hope would not ensue, and we also would hope that they would act in a lawful and democratic way in wherever they have to act. They have stated this publicly, and I am aware that the police have arrested persons. The police have been clamping down on it in the areas where they had been protesting up to last week. But today they have gone on to the main thoroughfare of the Solomon Hotroy Highway, and yours is a legitimate question to which I will seek answers, which I have sought answers, and expect to get them shortly.
Mr. Hines, good morning. Hope you're well. The 218 persons that I think you had identified as being maybe arrested or charged with related to the theft of scrap iron, could you give us a time frame within which those arrests took place? And part two, to your knowledge, have the police availed themselves of any database associated with dealers in the industry?
Yes, we in the government, remember we have a subcommittee including the Attorney General, the Minister of Energy, the Minister of Trade and Industry, and yours truly. And I'm aware that this material, that kind of information is available to the government and of course to the police.
How pervasive is the industry? What's the size of the membership of that database, if you can share it with us?
I am unable to say with any strong sense of confidence in front of you. I don't have documents in front of me, but I understand it does indirectly affect quite a few people. But that does not justify doing the kinds of things that are now being done, disrupting the communication flow, including our road networks. It does not. The government has made very clear its position in the protection of the national interest, particularly national security issues. After yesterday, a citizen telling me how hard it is to communicate, he found, with his family, his wife, his children, by cellular phone. And I am aware that these systems were affected by the kind of thievery that was taking place. I mean, there are dozens of containers now stuck that were supposed to be exported of supposedly scrap iron. And we now have the task of dealing with these. So that the thing had become pervasively corrupt and encouraged thievery. It was disrupting our lives in the society, and the government made it clear we had to do something to stop it and then to regulate the industry. Several persons sent me WhatsApp over the weekend. Kenya and other countries are experiencing similarly, and the governments of countries have to act in the public interest. We've done that. The scrap iron industry as one sector may have a problem with that, but we understand that problem, but we have to act in the national interest, and we have done that, and we are holding that. But we will expect that the rest of the society will understand that we are acting in their interest, as well as the scrap iron dealers as well, and act in a democratic and sensible manner, and let's work this thing through together. But to go and disrupt the highway, assuming that it is them, because I mean, there are other people who have other concerns in Trinidad and Tobago and could piggyback, because what I saw this morning from the reports coming to me from the police commissioner is that this was not the usual thing. This was trucks now being used to dump materials across the highway. I mean, this was not the case of the spontaneous, sporadic drawing of old tires and things as we have seen in the Claxton Bay area. This one appeared far more focused, far more organized, and involved the use of apparently dump trucks. So this is now under investigation. The CCTV cameras are being used to see how we can identify who would have done this, and the police are onto it.
Mr. Minister, are you concerned then that now, as you said, we've discussed it earlier this morning, that this is a more organized, orchestrated disruption this morning, and Trinidad, and it's been bad enough for many aspects of the country, but Trinidad and Tobago is now in a spotlight position, having our independence celebration coming up this week with guests in the country. Do you expect this sort of protest to intensify, and are systems in place to thwart any such protests while we are celebrating for the next couple of days?
I've been assured by the police commissioner and the leaders of the defense force that programs are in place to thwart this. I mean, when we had the Agri Expo, there was a little pocket of protest. The police dealt with elements around that, and yes, systems are in place to thwart that, because while we understand independence day or not, people have their democratic rights and freedoms in Trinidad and Tobago. We have often stated, and I now restate, that does not give you the right to disrupt and to terrorize other elements of the society in so doing. So yes, the laws and the systems are in place to respond to those.
Minister Hans, I wanted to just shift topic a bit. we would have had recently two clear incidents of alleged fake police officers, one conducting a roadblock and robbing and kidnapping a drinks truck, and two, going into a businessman's home and going away with allegedly $1 million in cash and items. The police has issued statements that it's fake police officers. They have also issued a statement that they have now banned the use of balaclavas and face masks by police officers. Without any clear evidence that these acts have been pursued and people have been arrested, what are your thoughts about that?
Very, very disturbing, of course, whether it is actually police officers or whether it is people personating police officers. It is in any event a very, very, very serious and traumatizing thing, because it means members of the public seeing what they deem to be police uniform when they should be feeling safe, and when they do feel safe, law-abiding citizens, they are facing a threat. So it is a very serious matter, and I am aware that both those matters are under active investigation by the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. They would have charged people for being in possession of military or police uniforms over the years, and they are pursuing these two matters in particular very vigorously, and I am expecting as well taking action to prevent this from happening again, meaning whether it is genuine police uniforms, police officers being a lot more careful and accountable for the items of kit that they have, whether it is complicity police officers deliberately sharing these with elements of the society who would do that sort of thing. All of these matters are to be taken into account. It is also possible that there are other firms who unfortunately use that kind of operational wear, whether it's black or dark blue, and action has been and should continue to be taken to ensure that there is no mix-up and misuse and abuse to criminality as you have described.
Yeah, but don't you think that these types of activity should take some order of priority with the police service, especially in light of the fact that, I mean, the underworld, the criminal activity is pervasive now for one reason or the other. But the fact that people are now cannot trust people in police uniforms, don't you think that this should take priority, and the police service should at least be keeping us updated as to what is happening with it?
Well, I know that it has taken priority. I know that as a fact. The question, your second part of the question, whether you should be kept updated, I agree entirely with you. Yes. This is one of the, I would say, shortcomings in terms of feedback. What has happened? You hear about the crime, but you hardly hear about the resolution of it. Even when people are, for example, last night, a member of parliament was on TV complaining about some crimes in the Rio Claro area, and that the police had moved a vehicle from one place or two vehicles and put them somewhere else. Well, the police have to deploy their resources as their intelligence guides tell them that they should, and this will always happen. But the bottom line is, the two crimes that he made reference to were resolved. The police were able, on the basis of their own work, to go in to investigate, search certain places, and found items from the robberies that he complained about, and the matters are, to that extent, now resolved. So the police have put out a release. I think it is going to be published today. So yes, you are right, Wendell. The police should be giving, as far as practicable, feedback as to the outcome, so as to bring comfort to people who are being traumatized by criminals in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
Minister Hines, one of the
area, for an example, just before you go in the Port of Spain area, East Port of Spain, talking about Basilon Street and Quarry Street and all that.
I was going to raise that.
Within the last 2 weeks, we had a spate of empty, senseless killings, in my view, because as Member of Parliament for part of the area in which this is happening, and by virtue of my office as Minister, I am able to tell you from the reports available to us, senseless killings. just because you from a certain area and you're passing through a next, somebody kill you, then the other side retaliate. And this comes up to the horrendous numbers of murders just for stupidity's sake. Empty, ignorant young men with guns behaving like that. So I know that part of the solution to this is, as I have told you all before, a massive, sustained, which is ongoing, gun retrieval exercise to get these illegal guns out of the hands of these empty young men who are using them to create mayhem and trauma for all of us. But since then, we have put more patrols in that area. When I say we, the commissioner, and I'm only telling you on advice, and of course foot patrols, including members of the defense force. I myself have seen them on the ground in there. My constituents and persons from the Port of Spain City have been reporting to me. They are seeing them. And since then, we haven't had that sort of behavior in that area. And I hope that the police and the defense force will continue this and go find the guns, take them out, and make the place cleaner and safer. So yes, Wendell, the police ought to give feedback as to the resolution of these.
One of the issues that you've championed in a previous iteration when you sat as chairman of the JSC National Security was the issue of illegal guns. And I must say that you were like very, very assertive where that was concerned. Depending on the reports from the SSA, I saw a report in the newspaper this weekend saying 12,000 illegal guns or so exists, while only 300 or 400 yearly are retrieved by police officers. The issue of the ports and the scanners have come into the spotlight again, with a Guardian report yesterday indicating that the scanners now, which had been barely used, are now obsolete and or non-functional. And I know this is something that you championed when you were chair of the National Security JSC. What is the state's response to that? Even though I know there were challenges in implementing it with, I would use the word obstruction from the PSA, quite frankly, at the point when the state was trying to initiate a more comprehensive scanning regimen at legal ports throughout the country.
Yes, and in all fairness to you, you were part of that joint select committee, and you too were a serious champion of this. I remember when we went and did our sightseeing and tours of these facilities. And yes, there's pushback from the PSA, from elements of the customs division. You have all kinds of pushback sometimes, but of course not in all cases. The customs is generally and its leadership in support of work to protect our borders. But there are elements inside of there, just like elements inside of all the other forces, who prefer the status quo because perhaps they benefit from it. And we continue to push. I saw that story in yesterday's papers, and I've been in constant collaboration with my ministerial colleagues, the Minister of Finance, who has responsibility for the customs, and of course the Minister of Works and Transport, who has responsibility for the ports and the scanners and that sort of thing. But
then does it mean that we have a serious gap now in surveillance at the legal ports?
Well, that is not settled. That is not settled. A large part of that story, I'm advised, is not correct, and I don't want to chance to comment further upon it, but I can tell you it appears that a large chunk of that story in terms of dysfunction of some of these equipment may not be correct. I would know later this morning with greater accuracy what the state of affairs is. At least,
but even if parts of the story are incorrect, inaccurate, Minister, you yourself and I, while on that committee, would have identified that there were gaps, even if there were scanners operational at those ports.
I agree with you, and therefore these are the kinds of things I can tell you. Since then, there's far greater, especially since I became minister. I met it in vogue, but I can tell you, since I became minister 16 months ago in this ministry, there has been far better collaboration between general law enforcement and the customs with a view of this. We do a whole lot of work now with them, and things are on the rise in that regard. Things have improved tremendously in terms of the way in which they do business and the way in which it affects national security now than it was when you and I sat on that chair.
But even with that said, you would agree, because we discussed it with you before, that even when, for example, containers are found with contraband drugs, illegal guns, we still don't see the commensurate level of arrests and charges.
Well, sometimes the way this thing goes, you are able to arrest people, sometimes not. But that is really down to the police and what information they have and their surveillance and that sort of thing. Things that I cannot and will not get into. But I agree with you. It would be nice and ideal if we can arrest someone or persons for every single item of illegality that we find, but it doesn't always go that way. Not here in Trinidad and Tobago, and certainly not anywhere in the world from the information available to me. Sometimes you're able to get people, and sometimes not.
Do you think that it's fair for the public? And I'm using this analogy because very often there are several operational arms of law enforcement and crime suppression in the country: police, TT Defense Force in some instances, etc. But at the end of the day, when we have the murder rate that we have the level of brazen criminality that we have in some instances, people look to the government and say, well, what's happening? What's the response at this stage from you as Minister of National Security and certainly from the cabinet?
I'm so sorry, I lost your point on a second there.
Yeah, I said while the government is not operational in fighting crime, the government is to provide resources, policy in terms of crime fighting. When the country is in the state it's in presently with high levels of criminality, brazen murders, illegal guns, and the citizens are asking inside and those outside of the borders, what is happening? When can we get a respite from this? What's your response as Minister of National Security?
Well, I can give the assurance that working closely with the police as minister, we provide them with the resources they need. We provide them, including training, including equipment, vehicles in particular. When Mr. Jacob makes an approach to me, we and all the heads of national security, the Ministry of National Security is given priority from the government's perspective in terms of budgetary allocations and otherwise, and we lend immediate support. And we are doing that. Every one of the heads of national security will tell you when they approach the government, the administration for support, it is immediately forthcoming.
Well, are the results satisfactory to you and the government?
We clarify what the government's policy is, and of course, under the law and the Constitution, the rest is really up to them. But we
are you having provided those resources continuously as you are advising? Are you satisfied with the outcomes?
Well, I'll never be satisfied with the outcomes. There's always a lot of room for improvement, especially in the circumstances with crime, as you have explained it. And I have said openly, I think if we exert better effort, all of us across national security, every one of us, wherever we work, whatever is our station, I believe we'll get a better handle on this. And that is one of the things that a minister has to try to engender, and I'm doing just that.
All right.
Thank you all very much, gentlemen.
Thank you, Minister Hines.
Thank you, Minister Hines.
Always a pleasure.
All right. Take care. All the best. Happy Independence once again. Good.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Minister.
Recording stopped.
All righty. Well, there you go.
All right. Of course, that was Minister Fitzgerald Hines. That issue of that, as Richard raised, that scrapper, it must be disturbing, to say the least, that these things can happen unnoticed or unknown to security network. When the people already signal to you, we go in and protest every day until the industry reopens.
And protest in this country means primarily blocking friggin' roads.
Right.
Let's not pretend.
Yeah.
You ain't going to placard in front of the Prime Minister's office. Protest in this country mean blocking road with debris.
Burning tire
and blocking road. Mm-hmm. Okay? Which means, and what is the most effective road to block? The major causeway. Mm-hmm. Beetham, Churchill Roosevelt, Solomon Hotroy.
Yes. Yeah.
Not so?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So, yes. I mean, and we've always often been spoken of highway patrols, increased surveillance, fixing rapid response, yet they could bring dump truck filled with mud and other debris, put it in a major highway, set it ablaze, and ride out.
Yeah. and we didn't follow the main players involved in these things. We ain't marking them. We don't have their phones.
But that's why I asked a question about the database.
Yeah.
If it is that they are surveilling the sector because the sector has made it very clear that they're going to give trouble, they're going to protest, I would imagine by now a database of the registered players and a database of the unregistered players would have been available to the police and law enforcement. And within that database, I'm sure there's a subset of those who are involved in criminal activity. Because you know, it have illegal scrap iron industry.
Yes.
So the first thing you do is get a database of all people who are involved in collecting, storing, selling, and buying scrap iron. Because the industry has several phases of operation.
Yes.
Some are involved in more than one phase. It have identifying with scrap iron, what they call scrap iron, because sometimes they don't start about scrap iron, as you correctly identified earlier this morning, Wendell.
Yeah.
A manhole is not scrap iron until the teeth it.
Yep.
A church bell is not scrap iron until the teeth it and try to sell it.
Yep.
So them walking around looking, we could get that, you know. So somebody had to identify it. Somebody had to teeth it.
Yes.
Somebody had to transport it. Somebody had to store it. Somebody had to sell it, and somebody had to buy it. And then somebody try to export it. And somebody had to be in collusion to let it get to the port because they know it has scrap iron in that container.
Yeah.
And not look. Or look the other way.
Yeah. Oh.
And we not that bright. We basic intelligence.
And we have a culture of talking. People talk.
I find Richard very disrespectful to the minister. When the minister only is just lock off the camera and go away.
And I know where you went this time.
No, I'm dealing with
What if it is time in the lion time?
No, it's not a lie. I was dealing with an email that came in that required my attention, and my brain is trying to figure out how to respond.
Yeah, but you have to respond carefully.
Yeah.
And not emotionally.
Yeah, and it's from a hierarchical level.
Well, I see how you responded and sent an email to me about a statement made by your organization already. And I found it was very carefully written.
It had to be Reginald Armour sending my email there.
Could be.
It could be it's Reginald Armour sending my email there.
Minister, so
yeah.
The hierarchical level with him is the Ministry of the Attorney General of Legal Affairs, which he will not confirm nor deny. Wink, wink.
No.
You see how he fan going all over his face, and like, how to respond to this man here, boy?
He is a man.
No. I can respond to the AG.
No, but you know, going back to Minister Hines and his response about illegal guns, when a report yesterday stated there were 12,000 illegal guns. I feel they're guessing about that because they have no idea how much illegal guns in this country. Let me start with that. They have an assumption about illegal guns.
Yeah.
They have an estimate, and the estimate could be real wrong or real right. Okay? Because different agencies give different levels of illegal guns. And even if we are to believe it have 8,000, 10,000, or 12,000 illegal guns in the country, because we don't know. Because the coup catchers were the kind of guns we had here. Not so?
Yeah.
Years ago.
Yeah.
And we never stopped them from coming in. So we don't know how much illegal guns here. But
we can't stop them from coming in.
Confiscating 300 and 400 a year in relation to 10 or 12 or 8,000 is a joke.
And confiscating them and putting them where broke police could get their hand on it.
Well, no, there are operations where they destroy. They destroy all, but they destroy substantial amounts of those confiscated. But even if they destroy all the illegal guns confiscated, is less than 5% of those that are purported to be in the country.
Paul, let's be honest. Guys, let's be honest. You see the cash are brand new guns. You going to destroy?
I will. I follow the law, sir. Will you not destroy it? Are you suggesting that you'd be involved in illegal activity?
I suppose what Wendell
I destroy it all. I do like guns.
I suppose what Wendell is bringing up is the issue of transparency in the destruction.
Yes.
And corrupt police.
Yes. And if I seize a brand new guns, next week my budget showing I had to spend $2 million to buy brand new guns, the same type of guns. You going to destroy?
Yes. As according to procedure, they should be destroyed.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Gentlemen, we got to run for our major.
20 cents, huh?
We got to run for our news
Mash
brief.
it up and then go and buy next week. Yeah.
What are you suggesting?
That makes sense.
All right, gentlemen, we got to run to our news brief. Right after our news brief, we will speak with the Acting Commissioner of Police, McDonald Jacob. All right, so let's get into it. All powered by Champlain Auto.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines says he has sought answers